The sun kissed the horizon, bathing the grove in golden light as disciples gathered around the seated Buddha. Silence enveloped the assembly, broken only by the soft rustle of leaves stirred by a gentle breeze. Buddha's presence radiated calm, his stillness captivating every soul in the gathering. Ananda, kneeling closest to Buddha, spoke with a voice tinged with longing and confusion. "Master," Ananda began, "how does one silence the storm of thoughts within and attain the tranquility you embody?" Buddha gazed at Ananda, his eyes reflecting the depth of an infinite ocean. "Ananda," Buddha said, "the mind, like a wild river, resists taming until guided with understanding and patience." He gestured toward a nearby pond, its surface shimmering like polished glass beneath the sunlight. "Observe the pond," Buddha said. "What do you see?" Ananda turned his gaze to the water, pausing before replying. "I see the reflection of the sky, the trees, and the world around it," Ananda replied earnestly. Buddha nodded, his expression both serene and instructive. "Now, Ananda," Buddha continued, "imagine throwing stones into the stillness of the pond. What would happen to the reflections?" Ananda hesitated, his brows furrowed in thought. Before answering, the ripples would distort the reflections, rendering them unclear and fragmented, Ananda replied. Buddha smiled gently, his voice carrying the weight of timeless wisdom. "Indeed," said Buddha, "the pond's surface is a mirror only when undisturbed, just like the mind mirrors the truth." He reached for a small stone at his side and handed it to Ananda. "Throw this stone into the pond. And watch closely," Buddha instructed. Ananda rose and did as he was told, casting the stone into the still water. Ripples expanded outward, distorting the pond's surface and blurring the reflections. "The ripples disturb the clarity," Ananda said, his voice tinged with recognition. Buddha gestured for him to sit once more and continued his teaching. "Time will pass," Buddha said, "and the ripples will fade. The pond will return to stillness on its own." The disciples watched in silence as the pond gradually regained its tranquility, the reflections becoming clear once more. "The mind, Ananda, is like the pond," Buddha explained. "Disturbances arise from desires, fears, and restlessness that ripple through it." He paused, his gaze sweeping over the gathered disciples, ensuring the teaching resonated with all present. "But when the mind is allowed stillness," Buddha continued, "its true nature emerges, reflecting the wisdom of the eternal." A moment of silence followed, each disciple immersed in contemplation of Buddha's profound words. Ananda spoke again, his voice imbued with reverence. "Master, how does one nurture this stillness amidst the endless stirrings of the world?" Buddha's eyes softened, reflecting compassion and understanding. "The journey to stillness begins with mindfulness," Buddha said. "Each breath anchors the mind to the present, entangling it from distraction." He gestured toward the forest, the rustling leaves creating a symphony of nature's stillness. "Listen to the leaves," Buddha said. "They sing without effort, rooted in harmony with the earth and the wind." The disciples closed their eyes, attuning themselves to the sound of the leaves, a collective breath binding them in shared peace. "Silence," Buddha said, "is not the absence of sound but the stillness within that transcends noise and thought." He raised a hand, palm open, and held it there, as though cradling the stillness itself. In silence, Buddha continued, "One finds the space where wisdom dwells, unpolluted by the chaos of desires." He lowered his hand, resting it upon his knee, signaling the end of this lesson. The disciples bowed their heads in gratitude, their hearts swelling with new understanding. "Master," another disciple began hesitantly, "why does the mind resist stillness and cling so strongly to its ripples?" Buddha turned toward the speaker, his gaze steady and kind. "The mind fears stillness," Buddha said, "because it unveils truths that challenge the illusions it clings to for comfort. He rose from his seated position, walking slowly toward the pond, his movements fluid and deliberate. When the pond is still, Buddha said, it reveals what lies beneath, whether beauty, emptiness, or discomfort. He knelt at the pond's edge, dipping his hand into the water, creating small ripples. The ripples are distractions, Buddha continued. They obscure the depths and maintain the illusion of a stable surface. He withdrew his hand, allowing the ripples to settle, and stood once more. To embrace stillness, Buddha said, is to accept the truths that arise, free from illusion and resistance. He turned to the disciples, his gaze penetrating and filled with unwavering love. Each of you must confront the ripples within, Buddha said, letting them settle without clinging to their distortion. The disciples absorbed his words, the clarity of his teaching shining a light upon their own inner struggles. Ananda placed his hands together in prayer, his voice filled with devotion. Master, your teaching awakens in me a longing for stillness. How shall I begin? Buddha's expression softened, his voice steady yet gentle. Begin with the breath, Buddha said. It is the bridge between the body and the mind, anchoring awareness to the present. He demonstrated, inhaling deeply and exhaling slowly, a peaceful rhythm grounding his being. Follow each breath, Buddha instructed. With each inhalation, invite stillness. With each exhalation, release the ripples. The disciples mirrored his breathing, the collective harmony filling the grove with a palpable calm. As the breath guides you, Buddha said, observe the space between thoughts, where stillness begins to emerge. He paused, allowing his words to sink into the hearts of his disciples. In this stillness, Buddha concluded, truth reveals itself, a reflection unmarred by the distortions of the restless mind. The grove grew silent once more, the disciples immersing themselves in the profound stillness of their breaths. Buddha returned to his seat beneath the Bodhi tree, his presence a beacon of calm amidst the ripples of the world. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows as the teachings settled into the hearts of the gathered disciples. Each left the grove with a newfound understanding, vowing to seek the stillness that reflected the eternal truths. Another day, another journey through sunlit fields and shaded paths brought Buddha and his disciples to a mountain village. The villagers, gathered in the square, bore expressions weighed down by conflict and strife that tainted their daily lives. Buddha observed their tense exchanges, his gaze calm and piercing, revealing the discord etched within their hearts. He stood before the gathered crowd, his robe flowing with the gentle breeze, and raised a single hand. In his palm rested a lotus flower, vibrant and pure, its petals radiating soft light beneath the sun. The villagers murmured among themselves, confusion stirring their thoughts as they pondered the meaning of Buddha's silent gesture. Maha Kashyapa, seated among the disciples, smiled faintly, his eyes alight with understanding. Buddha's silence deepened, the flower in his hand speaking truths only still hearts could comprehend. The murmur grew, some questioning the gesture, others retreating into the recesses of their unspoken doubts. One villager, an elderly man with weathered hands, rose and addressed Buddha. Master, what meaning does this flower hold? We see conflict but cannot glimpse the harmony you represent. Buddha lowered the lotus, his voice a flowing stream of calm and insight. This flower grows in the mud, Buddha began, yet rises above it, untouched, revealing its beauty to the world. He paused, his gaze sweeping across the crowd, each villager hanging on his words, captivated by the simplicity of his metaphor. Your hearts, Buddha continued, are entangled in conflict, like roots buried deep within the mud of attachment and aversion. He raised the lotus once more, its presence a symbol bridging the divide between strife and transcendence. Be like the lotus, Buddha said. Rise above the turmoil, finding harmony in compassion and understanding, untainted by the mud below. His words resonated deeply, reaching into the unspoken struggles buried within the hearts of those gathered. The elderly man bowed his head, his hands clasped in reverence. Master, how does one rise above this mud when it clings so tightly to our lives? Buddha's gaze softened, his voice carrying the wisdom of countless journeys through human suffering. To rise, one must see the mud for what it is, a necessary foundation, not a prison, Buddha said. He gestured toward the village's fields, where lotus blossoms grace the water, their purity an offering to the heavens. Observe the lotus, Buddha said. Its roots dwell in mud, yet its bloom reaches skyward, neither rejecting nor clinging to its origin. The villagers turned to the blossoms, their beauty illuminated by Buddha's teaching, revealing a lesson long hidden in plain sight. Your conflicts, Buddha continued, arise from clinging to desires and aversions, the mud that obscures the clarity of your hearts. He paused, allowing the weight of his words to settle into the minds of his listeners, stirring their inner reflections. Let go of clinging, Buddha said, and the mud will no longer burden you. Embrace compassion and rise toward peace. Another villager, a young woman holding a child, stepped forward, her voice trembling with vulnerability and hope. Master, she began, how do we plant compassion when our hearts are filled with anger and pain? Buddha turned to her, his gaze tender and unwavering, his voice a balm for her wounded soul. Compassion, Buddha said, is a seed that grows even in the harshest soil. It begins with understanding, nurtured by forgiveness. He knelt, touching the earth beneath his feet, his hands brushing the soil as though cradling the very essence of life. Forgiveness is the rain. Buddha continued. It softens the hardened soil, allowing compassion to take root and flourish. The young woman nodded, tears welling in her eyes, her heart touched by the simplicity and depth of Buddha's words. The villagers exchanged glances, their hardened expressions beginning to soften, the seeds of compassion quietly taking root. Buddha rose, the lotus still in his hand, a beacon of hope and transformation for the weary souls before him. Each of you, Buddha said, carries within you the capacity for compassion. Like the lotus, it lies hidden yet waiting. The crowd listened in rapt silence, their hearts opening to the possibility of a life unshackled by anger and division. Buddha turned to his disciples, his voice now addressing both them and the villagers alike. Just as the lotus unfolds its petals, so must each of you open your hearts to the light of understanding. His words painted a vivid image, the metaphor of the lotus etching itself into their consciousness. Maha Kashyapa spoke then, his voice resonating with wisdom and reverence. Master, how can we guide others to rise, as the lotus does, when they are blind to their own mud? Buddha's gaze met his, a soft smile gracing his lips. His reply imbued with timeless clarity. Guide others not by force, Buddha said, but by example. Bloom as the lotus blooms, inspiring without demand or expectation. He gestured toward the lotus fields once more, the sight a mirror of his teaching, reflecting the harmony attainable through compassion. The lotus teaches without speaking, Buddha said. Its beauty and purity show the path to transcendence more powerfully than any words. The disciples bowed their heads, humbled by Buddha's profound simplicity, their resolve strengthened to embody his teachings. As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the square, Buddha handed the lotus to the elderly man. This flower is yours now, Buddha said. Let it remind you of the harmony that rises above division. The man accepted the lotus with trembling hands, its weight light yet heavy with meaning. The lotus, Buddha said, is a teacher to us all, silent yet wise, a symbol of what each of you can become. He stepped back, allowing the villagers and disciples to absorb the lesson, their hearts stirred by the quiet power of his words. The villagers departed the square, their steps lighter, their hearts filled with newfound purpose and unity. The disciples followed Buddha, their journey continuing, the image of the lotus etched into their minds as a guide. Under the deepening twilight, Buddha walked ahead, his silhouette a beacon of light against the encroaching darkness. The path was long, yet each step carried the fragrance of the lotus, a promise of peace rising above all turmoil. Another day, another moment of wanderings brought Buddha and his disciples to a vast forest soaked by the recent monsoon rains. The air carried the scent of wet earth, mingling with the whispers of leaves swayed by the gentle wind. Among the travelers who came to listen was a prince, his face marked by sorrow and regret. The prince bowed deeply before Buddha, his voice quivering with the weight of his guilt. "Master," the prince began, "I abandoned my people for my ambitions, causing pain to many. How can I ever seek redemption?" Buddha gazed at him with compassion, his serene demeanor an anchor amidst the prince's turmoil. "Redemption lies not in punishment," Buddha said, "but in the actions that arise from a heart awakened to compassion and wisdom." He gestured for the prince to sit by his side, and the other disciples formed a quiet circle around them. Buddha reached into his satchel and produced a small, polished mirror, holding it up for all to see. "What do you see in this mirror?" Buddha asked, his voice calm yet piercing in its depth. "I see my reflection, Master," the prince replied, his voice tinged with shame as he avoided meeting his own gaze. Buddha breathed gently onto the mirror, fogging its surface with the warmth of his breath. "Now, what do you see?" Buddha asked again, his gaze steady and patient. The prince leaned closer, his brow furrowed in thought. "Only obscurity, Master," the prince said. "The reflection has disappeared, hidden by the mist." Buddha lowered the mirror, his hands resting on his lap as his voice filled the forest stillness. "The mirror reflects truth," Buddha said, "but when clouded, it loses its clarity, just as the heart loses its light." He turned to the prince, his gaze soft yet unwavering, his words a balm for the wounds of a troubled soul. "Guilt," Buddha continued, "is the mist that clouds the mirror of the heart, obscuring the truth of compassion within." The prince listened intently, the weight of Buddha's words sinking into the depths of his being. "To clear the mist," Buddha said, "one must act. Compassionate deeds wipe away guilt, restoring clarity to the heart's mirror." He reached for the mirror once more, wiping its surface with a gentle cloth until it shone again. "See now," Buddha said, holding the polished mirror before the prince. "Clarity returns when the mist is removed by the actions of love and kindness." The prince gazed into the mirror, his reflection now unobstructed, his expression softening with a glimmer of hope. "Master," the prince said, "how do I begin this path of compassion when the weight of my guilt feels so great?" Buddha smiled gently, his voice soothing as it wove a tapestry of wisdom and possibility. "Begin with a single act," Buddha said. "Each action, no matter how small, becomes a ripple spreading outward, transforming the world." He gestured to a nearby stream, its waters clear and flowing freely over the rocks. "Observe the stream," Buddha said. "Its journey is not hindered by obstacles, but shaped and enriched by their presence." The disciples turned their gaze to the stream, its flow a testament to the power of persistence and adaptability. "Compassion," Buddha continued, "is like this stream. Let it flow freely, and it will carve a path through even the hardest barriers." The prince nodded, his heart swelling with a new sense of purpose. The burden of guilt beginning to lift, one of the disciples spoke then, his voice resonating with the shared curiosity of the group. "Master, what if our acts of compassion are met with rejection or misunderstanding?" Buddha turned to him, his expression one of unwavering patience and understanding. True compassion, Buddha said, expects nothing in return. Its purpose is not reward, but the transformation it brings to the giver's heart. He held up the mirror once more, its surface catching the light, reflecting the faces of those gathered. The mirror reflects light, Buddha said, not for itself, but because it is its nature to do so. Unconditionally, the disciples bowed their heads, the simplicity of Buddha's words revealing the profound truth within their own hearts. Buddha turned back to the prince, his voice now addressing both him and the disciples alike. Let your actions be like the mirror, reflecting the light of compassion without expectation, illuminating the path for others. The prince rose to his feet, bowing deeply, his gratitude evident in the depth of his gesture. Master, the prince said, I will dedicate my life to serving others, letting compassion guide my every step. Buddha smiled, his expression radiating the infinite patience of a teacher who has planted a seed of transformation. The heart that serves, Buddha said, finds joy not in praise, but in the act of giving. Free from attachment, the forest grew still, the breeze carrying Buddha's words to every ear and heart present. The silence enriched by their resonance. The prince departed, his steps lighter, his purpose clear, leaving behind a trail of gratitude and newfound determination. The disciples followed Buddha as he continued his journey, the polished mirror now a symbol of clarity and transformation in their shared consciousness. The sun descended beyond the horizon, casting its final golden rays through the trees as Buddha walked ahead. In the forest's deepening twilight, the teachings of compassion echoed within each disciple, the mirror's light illuminating their path. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.